Joining us right now, Robert O'Donnell. He is, of course, a retired NYPD homicide detective. We call on Rob at various times to talk about the police officer's perspective on rising crime and policies that have been put in place that handcuff cops and the tough job that cops have. But, Rob, before we get into that, and first of all, good morning. Good to have you, my friend.
Good morning, Larry.
Before we get into that, I do want your initial reaction now to these reports that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and the other four suspects involved with the 9/11 attacks are on the verge of getting a plea deal from the Biden administration where they would avoid the death penalty. And you were there that day. You were there on September 11th, 2001 in New York at Ground Zero, and you participated in the cleanup efforts where you helped recover the remains of your brothers in the NYPD and the NY Fire Department. Your reaction to this news?
It's literally infuriating. And what's more infuriating is the fact that I've received this letter that has been received. Now, it was dated August 1st, but it was received by some of the families that gave it to me, and I received it from 3 different families on Friday, and 2 of them received it on this past Monday. And they're only given till Monday, this coming Monday, to respond to questions and comments, not any disagreements, not in the opposition, just questions and comments, and send it to the FBI comment line. They're giving them a week.
Wow.
It's just ridiculous. The mere fact that this letter went out shows this is pretty much a done deal. They do say, PR-wise, that they're going to take the family's opinion into the case, but the mere fact that they're just receiving the letters this last Friday and this Monday, and they need to respond by this coming Monday, is just an egregious act of justice.
Rob, this has obviously been dragged out for 2 decades now, and apparently, according to sources, the reason this is so mired down now, and the reason that the Biden administration's Justice Department has just decided let's just be done with it with the plea deal, is because so much of the defense has been mired down in the so-called torture and waterboarding tactics by the CIA. Do you have any reaction to that aspect of it, and whether there really is a reality that any justice can be done here, given how messy it is?
No, and I think this is more of just a Biden administration looking for some sort of win to say they are the guy that closed Gitmo. He's the administration that closed Gitmo, and regardless, they're not closing Gitmo. They will. I mean, Gitmo's our base. We're not giving it up unless Cuba tries to forcefully take it back, and they'll never do that. So it's not like Gitmo goes away. These 4 detainees may go away, and you know what? These 4 detainees should have gone away 15 to 18 years ago.
So shifting gears just a little bit, Rob, we're DC, crime, ridiculous. We've got reporting now that across the city, violent crime is up 37%, homicides are up 25%. It's summertime. A lot of young people are running around the city right before school gets started, and the mayor and the police chief think that curfews will be the answer to keeping kids, particularly in 7 of the city's wards, off the streets after 11 p.m. or after midnight on school nights. Is this just a Band-Aid solution? I mean, more cameras, more CCTV cameras hanging around the city, maybe plussing up some benefits to entice police officers, and this curfew. Is this really what's needed right now, or is this just a quick solution to a longer-term problem?
I don't even think it's a quick solution. Now, the CCTV cameras, they'll be good for after the crime is committed, for after the fact, to help identify, to help have evidence to convict people. But they've spent 2, maybe 3 years now hardening these juvenile criminals that have been given free rein across D.C. What do you think immediately now, because they say, 11 or 12 o'clock, you guys have to cut it out now? Who's going to go out and enforce this? I mean, they have a police department that's not supported by their chain of command, not supported by their administrative system and mayor there. They're supposed to go out and risk. What happens when something goes bad, when they do try to arrest one of these hardened criminals for a curfew offense, and it goes south, it goes bad, they resist, they flee, they fight, something happens to one of these, juveniles, and we'll see the confirmation pictures and everything like that. Are these officers really going to be proactive going out there and dealing with this, knowing they don't have the backing of their administration?
Rob, in general, do curfews work, though, if done right and if enforced, when you do have a spike like this and you can trace it back to too many young people on the streets with nothing to do but cause chaos? Can a curfew work?
A curfew works for just your everyday juveniles that just go out there and are hanging out and bored and doing nefarious things after hours. That's not the case here. You have hardened 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds carrying guns, carjacking people in the middle of the day. Do we really think a curfew overnight's really going to do something? It needs to be part of a holistic approach where you support your police. There's proactive policing that supports that. The judicial revolving door stops and juveniles are being held accountable rather than putting right back on the street. I mean, they've molded based on their defunding the police status, and they say they didn't do that, but in 2020 they did do it, and now they're saying we want to pay these bonuses, we want to pay officers for recommending other officers for coming in. You could throw all the money you want in this, and we've talked about this all the time, Larry and Patrice. It's going to take years to make up for every single year that they had this mentality, and you don't forget that lack of support. You don't lack that at any given time. The mentality can change in a D.C. City Council, can change in the mayor's office when it gets hot. And believe me, if you go out there and start being proactive and holding juveniles accountable, there are going to be problems. They are going to push back. There are going to be tragedies. But you need to support your police to take back the city because they've seen what happens. And a Band-Aid like a simple curfew is not going to fix that.
Well, this brings up the crime bill, the D.C. crime bill that was passed by the city council. Even the mayor opposed parts of it. We saw Congress have to step in, Republicans in Congress kind of step in here. But do you think that there's anything that is this bill, number one, going to make things worse? And number two, we talked even this yesterday about ending home rule and maybe Congress taking a stronger hand or someone else taking a stronger hand in terms of the city's management, especially when it comes to crime. Do you see that having maybe being part of the solution? Yeah.
Once crime gets out of control, which it has, I'm sorry, D.C. has descended into a place, and by no fault of law enforcement, it's just lack of support of law enforcement. This is when you get the big changes. New York City swayed to a total Republican run under Mayor Giuliani because the people of the inner city, the people who lived in the project, the people of all demographics said enough was enough. And I think people in D.C. of all demographics are starting to say enough is enough. But a simple Band-Aid like this is just that. It's not going to fix the problem. It's only going to I don't think it's going to do much at all, to be honest with you.
Rob O'Donnell, thanks for joining us. And by the way, the vice president, what's your pseudonym? You have a fake name? What is it? Grizzly Treebeard? What do you got? What's your
Grizzly Treebeard? Afternoon radio guy, Larry.
Oh, that's right. He is now a radio host. We've created another monster up there in Pennsylvania. Thank you, Rob. Always good to talk to you, my friend. Go Navy.